Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and I am here with this wonderful woman, Janet Bloch, who is the executive director, is that your title, of the Lubeznik Art Center in Michigan City. So Janet,
Yes.
I know you weren't always here. You were in Chicago before this, and what did you do there?
So I am a Chicagoan. I grew up there. And before I came here, I did many things because I went to art school. And so
That's where it started.
well, it started really when I was little. But
How little?
I always drew.
Did you?
My parents just like let me sit in front of the TV and I always drew. I always had things to draw with. That's what I love to do. I used to copy comic books. I used to draw fashion designs. I used to, that was what I loved to do. And my favorite present ever was the big box of crayons. I think both my older sisters could draw too. My older sister did go to the Art Institute for just like Saturday classes, and she was actually really good. And I think she had like pastels or things that I inherited eventually, but I always loved to draw. So in high school, I took art classes all through high school, and I knew I was going to go to art school. So I have to say it really started earlier because
the seed was
that
planted.
was the plant. Yeah, I was going to be an artist. That was, or whatever, however I thought of it.
And what's your medium these days?
So my medium now is raising money.
That.
For an art center. Yeah. No,
It takes a bit of artistry.
Yeah, I mean, I really put all my creative energy into the art center. I do. It's my, I've had periods like this before, but usually I continue to produce work, but I have not. And so, but a friend of mine told me a long time ago when I was sort of struggling with that, because I used to co-direct a gallery called Woman Made Gallery in Chicago, and it's still there. And I struggled because I couldn't stop thinking of ideas for a Woman Made, and let's do this, and we should have a show like that, and and I was struggling because I wanted to get my own work done, and they just said, I learned in life you just have to go where the energy is. And that really helped me because you can't really fight your energy. Like,
no, you can't.
This is just where it's at.
Even when other people tell you should be.
Oh, they always do. Even if you just draw for 10 minutes a day, it's like, I don't want to draw for 10 minutes a day. I have no interest in that. People don't kind of get that.
I know.
But I know at this point who I am.
And what you want to do today.
And that, you just said it. That's perfectly said, because it's all about what you want to do today. Yeah. Being in the present moment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this.
That's that's changed my life and how I try to live it. It's not always easy, but I try to remind myself to.
Or you can get up in the morning and have a lot of people knocking at your door.
Well, I don't, I get up early and the first thing I do is greet my cats and feed them, and then I meditate for 20 minutes.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. It's just life changing. So
It is.
Yeah. And then I have other practices that I do to keep myself sane and kind of I would say like spiritually fit, or for me. I mean, and that's just for me, and it's a vague term. I don't mean it that anyone else needs to do it, but to keep my spirit in check, like to keep myself content and remind myself what I have in life and
how blessed you are.
How blessed I am, and sort of like to have the energy to kind of make life more fun and adventurous and not complain about everything. And
thank you.
It comes late in life, unfortunately.
It is interesting that it comes so late.
It just does.
It just does.
Part of the gift.
I think you finally realize that you have to surrender in some ways. That you can't. First of all, you can't control everything.
Right.
You're lucky if you can manage yourself. And
yeah, I mean, I would almost say, and not to say I do it, but you have to surrender. everything.
Yes, you do.
'Cause there's
She
nothing.
said surrender to everything.
There's
I agree.
nothing you have really control over except for yourself, like nothing. And even
then,
I mean, you don't have control over, like, unfortunately, if you get ill or if you, so you better just be happy when you're not ill, and right?
There you
Like,
go.
I mean,
like this.
I feel like that I do have an appreciation for that. I've known a lot of people who have died young and had, small kids and had diseases, and it's like, what a waste if you're not going to be here and be grateful for
Right.
what you've got. So,
Right.
so I do try to be like conscious of that. And yeah, it wasn't like that in my teens or my 20s. And it was definitely like kind of a skill or a learning that happened over time.
Part of it is, I think we all, at least I spent a lot of time trying to fix things, meaning things outside of myself that I didn't have a whole lot of control over, and get frustrated because all of this is happening, and I at least can choose how I respond.
Right.
And
well, if you're in tune to wanting to realizing that's a choice. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't become
there you
aware,
go.
right? Like I didn't become aware of that and sometimes I remind myself that that's with other people, not to get frustrated because
They
don't
there.
have the tool, and that's just who they are. And also just kind of remind myself it's probably not going to change either.
Right.
So be okay with it or move along,
Yeah,
because no, really, like that would be true in my marriage. I mean, it really is true. Like that, it took me a couple decades to realize, like, I just I used to say, well, I didn't make it up, but like I have three choices. You can leave, you can stay and accept and embrace, and the third one is the one I'm not going to do, which is you can stay and make everyone miserable.
And there's one other thing to remember.
Okay.
That I, at this age, say to myself, you'll miss him when he's gone.
Oh, and I will.
So,
and wherever you go, there you are. So, right? So it's not any better anywhere else. I think that's but really, I mean, I thought, well, like, what is it? It got me in touch with just like that this was my choice. I guess that's the thing about all of this, like work. And yeah, I gave up doing my art because this was my choice. It was where my energy went. And I mean,
this is what spoke to you.
And this is why I think that, what's the name of the podcast again?
Creating from the Heart.
Okay.
The Artistry of Living.
So this is why, honestly, I thought that I knew that's or you told me, and why I should be here is because I think I was in my 50s when I got the job at Lubeznik Center, which was education director. And I know I look a little younger than I am, and that's okay. I don't have to like give dates and whatever anymore, but it was the biggest surprise in my life because I actually moved to Indiana to be a full-time artist. So the surprise was that
what you ended up doing,
and that I loved it. That was the surprise. It wasn't a surprise. I'm going to reach for my tea.
That's okay.
It wasn't a surprise that I needed money, because I always needed money. That's why I did a million things as an artist.
Right.
And it wasn't a surprise that, I might end up like with a full-time job or something. The surprise was that I loved it. That still shocks me.
Isn't that amazing?
And that I was that old already, and that I don't even know why we moved here exactly, because we only knew one person. I live in Chesterton, and I just knew I wanted to leave Chicago, and I knew I wanted, like, I knew nothing about really Northwest Indiana. Yeah. And then in 2008, I realized, like, you have to get a job. Your savings won't last you. And I was like, I got this job, and I really was scared that, like, will I be able to do it? Will I be able to? And then I don't know what happened, but I mean, I just think Lubeznik Center is a very special place.
It is.
And it's so special to me out here because I think I could see immediately, maybe being from a big city, how it was positioned to do so much good and have so much impact. And that, like, really thrilled me. I mean, that's what it was. It's like, there's nobody else doing any of this stuff. So if we don't do it, like, we cannot take it lightly and do it half-assed or second best or whatever. We have to make it the best art center we can, because why are people right across the border gonna, like, why should they have less than people have in Chicago? It just didn't. And I really just sort of took that into my heart and wanted it to be like a great art center for anywhere.
That is fabulous.
That is my philosophy.
I
It's
love
like,
the story.
why would you want your children, your neighbors, or yourself, or to see? I mean, if you want to go to Chicago, that's great, and if you can afford to go to Chicago,
and there are things to see in Chicago.
Of course,
anyway.
there are, but, like, why would you think that the people here should just have less? Like, and I don't mean that we're less. I just mean, like, why would we make the cultural experiences less fantastic?
Right.
Like, and there's no reason to.
No, there is none.
So, I mean,
And
I do take it seriously.
And especially now, I think it's really important to value the creative efforts of people and to really celebrate that part of the vision, which is, you can't ever tell where it's exactly going. It's the creative spirit of the human being, and it's always changing, and it's always expressing itself in different ways.
And the truth is that people create great things even when the world is not in good shape. It's
sometimes
I would love it to be in good shape, but that part, and it's interesting to me that when COVID hit, we could immediately see in the demand and the way that people embraced us, called us, wanted to see if we were okay, wanted to see if we were open, that there became more awareness of how needed it is. People's mental health wasn't good. People started to, like, seek out the art experience, where I sort of felt like for a long time, at least more in Michigan City, in a smaller town, that, like, there wasn't as much maybe value or an understanding of the value of the arts and what the arts could bring. But once things got bad or people became more isolated or depressed, that humanistic need rose, and we could see it in the interactions that we had.
It's interesting because it makes me, not that it's the same, but it makes me think of the Holocaust, because during the Holocaust, one of the things that people did who were in the camps was create art.
I know.
It's
astounding that they could even think
like that. Right?
It is, but it does, and that's, I mean, like, I don't think there's really any area of life where right now that it's not political, even if you want it to be. But the reality, and you can remove yourself from certain things, certain, groups and realities, and but it is a need when there is, I think, repression. There's just a need to express the freedom.
Right.
And so, like, people always say, well, why don't you show, like, this kind of art or that? I'm like, because those people aren't really making art. I mean, there's not a lot of art, well, Hitler commissioned art for the Third Reich, but I mean, it's not like people are naturally drawn, I think, to making art for those reasons. They usually want to express more hidden desires or other or beauty and there wasn't a lot of beauty during that time. So, I
Right.
think there's like just, but when people especially are actually their rights are removed, I think that they feel that need for expression and for sure the need for connectivity. So like I think that that's part of it too, is just that we were seen as a place that, and I mean, and we are intentional about it. We want to make connectivity. And when I say we, I mean, that is I think the real, like we share the vision, the board and the staff,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're
Reaching out.
spreading the vision,
Right.
but it's not like I made it up. I mean, it's just,
No.
it's like, I've always felt that way when my parents would take me to the Art Institute when I was little, like, it was like a special day to me,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
it was a special day, like you're going to go see these, I don't know, they made it special anyhow. And so I just think looking at art is, or talking about art,
Mm-hmm.
because we went on field trips when I was a kid, and I went to Chicago public schools till I was at least like 11. And that was just part of your life is cultural education.
Is exposure
Yeah.
and learning about different points of view in the world.
Mhm. Yeah, and the history of things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. I mean, I am definitely a believer in the arts. Like and maybe I didn't even know how much I was a believer in the arts until I got here.
Uh-huh.
But because you don't have to fight for it as hard in Chicago.
Well, you were a believer in the arts when you did Woman Made.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
But this is different. This is not to disparage Woman Made. This is even broader. This is
right.
reaching
it is.
out.
I mean, Woman Made was fantastic. I'm a feminist. I believe in everything they do. I think that we had like so much fun and such cool. It was so grassroots. We could do whatever we wanted, really. We didn't have to ask permission because nobody paid us anything. We were like, but what I think is coming here, not when I was working in my studio in Chesterton, but when I was exposed to Lubeznik Center, sometimes the attitudes outside the center shocked me because it was sort of anti-arts, like they don't do anything. Like I remember going to a new teacher's luncheon in LaPorte.
Uh-huh.
When I first got here and bringing information to about the Anne Frank exhibit that we had, that was like it was like one of the first exhibits that I was really involved in helping do the curriculum and stuff. And I remember this like teacher, I think she was actually a principal, just saying to me like, we don't spend money on field trips and we don't take time out for arts. That's like, and I was just like, I can't even imagine like somebody in Chicago or anywhere in Illinois almost having that attitude. So it was like,
has that softened?
I'm doubt with her, but I think that the mood has changed. But I mean, people in schools are afraid about there's a big parents' Bill of Rights, and it's not that I don't think parents should have any interaction or say in what their kids do, but schools are really afraid, I think, of doing the wrong thing. And I have to say that we also are very conscious of it at the center because, there's a line between, we're just, let me say it this way, we're very conscious of where we're located, and we like to bring issues that are worthy of dialogue to the forefront, but we're not gonna show kids something with profanity,
right?
Because it's not worth it to me to lose the conversation about what's important to that. And so a lot of artists feel upset by that. I mean, it is censorship.
It is.
It is. I mean, there's no, I can't, but I know, and I'm very serious about nudity. And, our curators, three of our curators that I've been with so far, probably all, have disagreed, but I don't want to lose schools to see for kids to experience the importance of arts because there's a boob showing. It's just like ridiculous, but it's not. It's not worth it.
No, and if that's where they're going, if that's something that kids want or parents want their kids, there's plenty of places that are not very far away where they can see those things. But it would be a shame to sacrifice everything else you're doing.
Yeah, and it is hard. I mean, you can't. I try to tell people when we show something that can be upsetting, you have no idea how much dialogue has gone on already. We'd never show anything flippantly because we have internal disagreements about things. And it's like you just think that everybody thinks a certain way. It's like everyone's lines are really different.
And they have them.
And so even now, like we're talking about, we're going to do Zine Fest again. And I mean, this is a real conversation in real time. And we're discussing, I mean, zines traditionally are about weird subject matter, and they could be about drugs, and they could have nudity and profanity. And do I now want to have to go through everybody's submissions? No, I don't, because the culture of zines is kind of underground. But now people are saying, can my high school creative writing class have a booth? And I mean, I'm just telling you, not just internally, but we're also really talking to other people in that zine who love zines, who are teachers and because I don't know the answer. Like, that's just it, Suzy. Like, it's a one-day event, but there will be people who might be upset if they bring their kids. Do I want no kids? There's like almost no answer in a day that I don't have to think about what the challenges are. And I might do things that people don't agree with. I do at work. I do with my staff all the time. But I do have to own it at the end. Like, I can't say, well, I'm sorry, but my curator really thought, or I have to listen to everybody.
And then you have to decide.
I do have to decide, and that's the job. And I mean, so when we're talking about getting spiritually fit, I have to be really authentic with myself and do what I really think is right for the center, not for me and not for this person or that person, but what I think the center should stand behind. And I mean, really, it does. And the wanting to be liked is a real thing, and especially by your staff. I want my staff to like me and respect me, and they often disagree, and it's really difficult.
It is, but what is most important, I think, is that they respect you enough that they can have a dialogue.
Oh yeah.
And they aren't, I'm guessing, because I'm not there, but that they aren't afraid to give their point of view.
I hope not. I mean, I know most aren't, and so I need to make sure, because people are different, and I'm outspoken, and not everyone is. So I do really try to solicit. I'm a good mind reader. I'm very sensitive to people's energy, so I kind of know, but I want to make sure that it can't just be the loudest voice or the strongest voice. It's just same with the board and same with the community. I mean, I have to really listen and be respectful, and then
Suck it up.
And
make a decision.
Make the decision I think is the best in the day I'm in. I might regret it. I haven't yet, but I mean, I'm just saying you can. I mean, it's just it's not a difficult job. It's just that I just want people to know that I'm never really not thoughtful about it, because there was a time when I came here and I could have been more oh my God, that is sort of, I'm just going to say, when you're from Chicago and you come here and you realize there are all these really different views, I would say much more so than in Chicago. In Chicago, everyone's really liberal. I mean, and if they're not, they're used to everyone being liberal. So you're not like, you feel pretty safe with your liberal views. Here, I mean, I really think to myself, like, you know, I don't want to do anything just to shock people. That's really
Right.
different than my women-made status. And I was like, who cares? Really, it's like a maturity and that I've gained, and also much more leadership, because it didn't so much matter there. I mean, you know what I mean? Like here, I really do see myself as someone who has impact. And
Well, it's a community institution, and yes, Women Made was in some ways, but I'm guessing not quite as impactful.
No, and it was much more of an institution. The community was the community of women.
Right.
It wasn't the community of
Chicago.
people of every religion and
Right.
maybe more conservative viewpoints, and people who had a lot of families. Like it just is different.
So you've expanded your audience.
Yes, much more so. Yes, I mean we have a pretty good male audience at Woman Made, but like you just wouldn't walk into Woman Made if you weren't like into something.
The expression of women.
Right.
Right.
And what you might see,
Uh-huh.
what you might think you might see, especially in Chicago, about that. Or the show titles could sometimes give it away. Like, I think we had one called Down with Patriarchy. So, like, you know, it was very tongue-in-cheek, but you knew you were going to see
what you were going to see. Right.
Or you could anticipate. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, yeah, we're really, the whole mission is just very different. I mean, we really want to, you know, it's like I would almost say we want to uplift people with the arts, but I think what we want to do is more like transform people through the arts. It's not necessarily always uplifting. It's like being open to the idea that art has ideas that can challenge you, change you, make you angry, give you pleasure. It's like it really is a range. And just because, and this is really important, actually David Hoppy was a board member. He's a writer here in Michigan City. And I remember him saying, and I couldn't quite articulate what I was trying to say, but he said it. It's like, just because we show it doesn't mean you have to like it. Like there's, like there's no, it's like if you went to an opera, I went to an opera like once, a Japanese opera, and I was like, oh my God, like I want to get out of here so bad. Or, you know, you might find that at a rock concert, or you might find, it's like, but it doesn't mean that I love it if we show it. It doesn't mean I don't have, it's just like you're not required to like it. You're
required to experience it,
or
and maybe recognize that it's out there, and explore it, and understand somebody. Yeah, but understand somebody else's point of view.
Yes, you know what? You're not even required. We're just saying you can consider it. And if you don't want to consider it, seriously, you can walk right by it.
Right, it's like an invitation. Right.
Exactly. So I think that is something, because when a museum shows it, people think like we're saying this is good.
Right.
And we're saying that you should appreciate this. And I don't feel it isn't. No, I don't.
No.
I don't like everything we show. I mean, right on. I really don't. Like I have aesthetic preferences, so
everybody does.
I hope everybody
does. And it's okay that
Mm-hmm.
everybody does, and that some are different than others.
Yeah. And like this guy I really like asked me once, he's a photographer, and then he's been doing some painting that he calls like abstract expressionists, and he showed it to me, and I mean, he was asking for my opinion. I don't want to believe me, don't call me and ask me my opinion on your work ever, really. I don't want to do that. But he did, and he's a friend. So I said, well, he said, it's really good, right? Or whatever he said. And I was like, or like, wouldn't you show that upstairs? And I said, no. And I said, really? No. First I asked, do you really, want my truth? And I said, no. And he said, why not? And I said, and this guy loves opera and classical music. So I said, I have no opera or classical music experience or depth. That's not a field. Those are not fields that I know well. I said, can you tell when somebody starts to sing from the first 10 notes, whether they're good or they're not, like whether they're at a level to be in the opera? And he's like, oh, absolutely. I said, well, if you look at a lot of art, then you know that abstract expressionism is not like just pushing paint around on a canvas. Like, it's a study, and there's standards for every kind of study. And so, I mean, people think art is everything, and I would just say that it can be, and it's inclusive, but there is absolutely, even if you don't understand art, there are standards that are traditional standards throughout history, and throughout the history of contemporary art and abstract art, and there is a real difference between, and that's why we have people doing their jobs that are qualified and not Joe Schmo off the street. I mean, really, it's
Right.
like, but he said, he actually was really gracious and said, thank you. I said, there's nothing wrong with experimenting and with doing something new, and I completely encourage that. But like, the expectation that we're gonna showcase this when I said, how long have you oh, well, like in the last year. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just that and I'm not saying that somebody might not be a fantastic painter in a
Right.
year. I don't know, but I just
Right.
know I'm not just applying my opinion always, is what I want to say. And none of the professionals really are.
Right.
They're all people who have studied stuff. And that's why I think it's really important to talk about why things are in the show, and why we have people like Whitney who are super
Right.
generous with their explanations. And, because a lot of it would go right by me too. Yeah.
Well, this is great.
Thank you.
It is. And it's so interesting to hear your story about moving from art to, I'm trying to find a word. It's supporting, it's being, it's conduit is not the right word. Just being someone who so supports the arts that you're willing to take on the work that you have.
Honestly, it's not just willing. I mean, I'm thrilled to take, like,
I
when they
understand.
asked me to be director, like, there was a little bit of, I was a little miffed about a situation and whatever. It's like, because whatever, it's history. But it was like, it took me 10 seconds to say, yes, of course I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to play games. I wasn't looking to be paid more. It wasn't even about any of that. I think it was a little bit of recognizing my value, but
Yes.
they have. Everybody has, I have to say, so that's satisfying. And then, but it is, I will just say it this way. It was like, when you see something, maybe people have it in different areas. Like, you might see it in a kid, or you might see it in a home, but it's like the potential. See,
Right.
I could see what the potential meant for Lubeznik Center, and I was so tired of people coming in and saying, like, this place has so much potential. It's like such a waste. It's like, so when I went from education director to director, that was sort of the shift. It's like, we are now going to live up to our potential.
There you go.
And somebody said to me, who interviewed for a job once, like, well, Janet, it's not a museum. It's not accredited as a museum. I mean, we could do that, but it is a museum, but it doesn't have accreditation. It's not, it doesn't pay a real lot, and you're not offering artists money like stipends to show, which actually is changing. This is our vision to change that. It goes, so like, I don't know, like, how are you going to get all these good artists here? And I said, you have to drink the Kool-Aid. Like, you got to convince them. Like, that's the job. You got to let them know what we're doing here. When we tell an artist that, 1,500 people might be seeing your work either through coming in or through a video, and that's why we need information and we want to share it. Otherwise, I'm making it up because not making it up, but I'll tell them what I think it's about. But like, that's exciting to an artist when you see how beautiful the main floor gallery is.
Yes.
And then when you see people who come and appreciate it. So I do want to say, the vision in the next 5 years is to raise a whole lot of money. And it's because people do need better salaries, because we need them to stay. They're so valuable, and, everyone needs insurance and taking care of their kids, and it's important. It's not because people are...
It's moving to another level.
It's not because people are greedy. And then
No.
when we want things done to the building, we want to make it 100% accessible so we can put an elevator in. These are things that, like, we believe in. They're aligned with the values of the institution, which we have 5 core values, which we have many more, but excellence is one of them. We want, like, people have told us that the upstairs galleries are less appealing because they feel officey. It was an office building, and we want to make some changes to that. So, like, over the next 5 years, I'm feeling that we're ready, and Michigan City's ready, and that our supporters are ready to make a commitment to us to try to bring it really to the next level in the next 5 years. And then, we'll see what happens, but it's probably going to be someone else's turn for a while because it should be.
Right.
It just should be. It's like I can see the vision for that, and I'm not, it might change, but because a day at a time, right? And the day I'm in,
yes,
but I really, I don't think I'm not going to feel bad. I don't ask for money that easily. I'm very appreciative, and I understand everyone has different thresholds, but I'm not shy about what I feel the Art Center has, like, done in Michigan City.
Right.
I mean, I feel like it's made a huge impact.
So
I hope others share that.
me too.
I'll be talking to everybody. I can. I will be. Really.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We've got a list of about 1,000 of you out there. So, yeah, it's time to stretch a little bit for us, because it's just, everybody wants everything done. Everybody wants the revitalization based on the arts, and everybody wants the art, art on it. And I mean, it takes money and time and effort. And I just talked to somebody who is actually our campaign consultant, and I started telling her everything. She was like, Janet, you really have to hire somebody. Like, you can't be at every mural thing.
No.
And I'm like, okay, but we need money to hire somebody. So it's like, it is getting, we're busy there. And I think everybody's enjoying it. The staff and the board, I think, are feeling supercharged about an exciting time ahead.
It is. It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good. It's good. I do love it. I love the community, and I my whole civic life is here. I don't really know what's happening in Chesterton outside my home, out of my home life. I have no idea, but it's just, it appealed to me right away because of the diversity and the, the urban and the rural and Michigan City's going to live up to its potential as well.
Good.
Right?
I hope you're.
I hope so.
I'm trusting you're right. I now am a resident of Michigan City. I'm all for
Are
it.
you? Okay,
Yes.
and then I think that really in the next 5 years, we're going to see Michigan City live up to the potential. It's because that's what people see here too,
That's exactly right.
It's like, and it's you just have to hit. I think it just has to be in the right hands, and I'm hoping that Angie will. I'm pretty confident, but it's going to take more than just her. I mean, it takes
yeah.
everybody. So
It will.
yeah, I think
It's
will.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your vision.
Thanks
This
for
is just
asking me.
fabulous.
Yeah, it's hard to go to sleep at night. I mean, it
I
is.
know.
My brain is active.
Creating from the heart, the artistry of living. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much, Janet.
Thanks, Suzy.
Okay.
I loved the conversation.
Bye-bye.